How's it going, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about Bolivia with me, Nicholas Rose. So, Bolivia is located in South America, right in the heart in Central South America. Bolivia borders Brazil, Paraguay, Chile, Argentina, and Peru. Bolivia is in the Andes Mountains and also has half of Lake Titicaca, which is the largest lake in South America. Bolivia's capital is La Paz. La Paz's altitude is 11,942 feet. Wow, that's a lot of feet. La Paz is the highest capital city in the world. Bolivia has lowland plains of the Amazon basin, which border the southern countries of Argentina and Peru. So, the history of Bolivia. Bolivia was home to the Tiwanaku Empire for many years, starting around 2000 BC. Bolivia was once home to the Incan Empire, thousands of years later in the 15th century. Bolivia lived under Inca rule until 1525, when it was discovered by Spanish conquistadors. The conquistadors were discovering most of South America around this time and made their way west around across of South America, finally making it to Bolivia. They were under the Spanish rule until 1809, when the natives declared their independence and went to war with the Spanish. They fought hard for 16 years and eventually won on their home turf, becoming the Republic of Bolivia on August 6, 1825. The country was named after their great general and commander, Simon Bolivar, hence the name Bolivia. Bolivia was held under military rule for a large part of the 1900s and transitioned to a democracy in 1982 under the election of Hernan Siles Zuazo. Since 1982, Bolivia has not had political or economic stability and has failed to achieve a successful democracy without military intervention and corruption. So, Bolivia's government. Bolivia's current constitution was adopted in 2009 and is thought to be a democracy. The Constitution says that Bolivia is a unitary, plurinational, and secular state. Future electees will now be elected by the first past the post system. The government has three branches, which are the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, just like the United States of America. The executive branch is the president, who is elected by a popular vote to a 5-year term. The judicial branch is the Supreme Court, where there are justices that are elected to 10-year terms by popular vote. Now, the legislative branch is the lower house of the Senate and the upper house of the Chamber of Deputies. Senators are elected through proportional representation to 5-year terms. Deputies are either elected by single district, non contiguous indigenous districts, or proportional representation from party lists. The current president, well, technically not the current president, but the last president was Juan Evo Morales Ima, and the chief of staff, Juan Evo Morales Ima. And the reason I have question marks next to his name, because in the last few weeks he was just ousted as president, and we'll get into that next. So, current situation with President Evo Morales. President Evo Morales was re-elected to president in October after serving a 14-year term after being granted to run for another term by the Supreme Court. Unrest and protest ensued after Evo Morales was elected after he was granted that term by the Supreme Court. On November 10th, Evo Morales stepped down as requested by the military. He was essentially forced out after winning the popular vote. Being that Evo Morales was widely liked by Bolivian citizens, especially the indigenous Bolivian citizens, protests in support of Evo Morales broke out. The military opened fire on protesters on November 15th, killing 8 people. However, the military still claims that none of their men were the ones shooting. Since the October 20th election, 30 Bolivian citizens have been killed in protests. Evo Morales was accused of electoral fraud but denies all allegations and says his election was truthful and honest. Mexico guaranteed Evo Morales safe asylum, and he fled there following the turmoil because he knew had he stayed in Bolivia, there was a good chance he would be killed. An interim government has stepped in, and new elections are planned for an unknown date. And right now, there is a U.S. ambassador who is headed of the interim government. Evo Morales was the first indigenous leader of Bolivia and was a major advocate for indigenous rights, which is a large factor in the magnitude of the protests. So, the Bolivian lithium exports really tie into Evo Morales' ousting and situation. Bolivia has the largest known lithium exports in the world. Bolivia has roughly 9 million tons of lithium deposits that have not yet been tapped into. Lithium is the main resource that creates batteries. Not just any batteries, but electric car batteries, which are growing enormously in production and popularity. China is the largest electric car battery producer, and China has the most money. Due to Evo Morales' exile, Bolivia's potential lithium deals with countries such as China and Germany are in jeopardy. Evo Morales had large plans of using lithium resources in trade deals that could potentially bring Bolivia out of the long economic peril they have experienced. Evo Morales had plans of finally bringing the country economic stability through their lithium, with trades through countries who have long-term economic stability. This would create jobs, exports, and generate a lot of money for the country. Some argue that this lithium belongs to the native Bolivian people, and others argue that this lithium is the resource that can bring Bolivia wealth and economic prosperity. Either way, Evo Morales being taken out of power has halted the lithium situation indefinitely, and there probably will not be a solution soon to come. In conclusion, the current political situation in Bolivia is one of the most unruly and controversial in all of Latin America. The situation with former President Evo Morales is unique in whether it undermines or reinforces democracy. The fact that Evo Morales was usurped of his position weeks after he won the popular vote definitely undermines the democracy of Bolivia. But an argument could also be made that it upholds a democracy due to the fact that his term limit was up by rule of the Constitution. The lithium situation does not uphold the democracy, nor does it undermine the democracy, but it is a direct impact from the Evo Morales situation. Overall, these events undermine Bolivia's democracy due to the fact that the military was able to oust the elected president and go on to kill civilians who are exercising their right to protest. And there is no way that those two events could uphold any democracy. Each event even worsened democracy stability. Human rights, citizen satisfaction with government, corruption, and quality of overall life in Bolivia. Thank you. That is my presentation.